I'm Stephen Garvey, founder, leader of National Citizens Alliance, NCA. Thank you for joining me. I will be running for Prime Minister of Canada in 2019. So if you support me in the NCA, please help us spread our name. We are true grassroots, true uncontrolled opposition to the globalist parties in Ottawa. That's what we represent, and we will be fielding candidates in as many, if not all, ridings in 2019. So go to nationalcitizensalliance.ca, and if you support our agenda, get behind us. Become a candidate, become a member of our riding association, donate to the party, volunteer for the party. This is all about the Canadian people in our country. National Citizens Alliance is pro-Canadian, anti-globalist, Canadian people, Canada first. That's it. We are true grassroots, no strings attached. So this is a great opportunity for the Canadian people to get behind NCA and what we stand for, and check out our policies. And I'm going to touch on the events this past weekend. We were up in Edmonton at Sir Winston Churchill Square on Saturday, and then we were in Calgary. And the event up in Edmonton, which started at 2 p.m., was a very successful event. We had some great speakers, and we didn't have any disruptions from any of the protesters. So that was a great thing. And the focus of that rally was love for our country, love for our people. And we encourage people to look at the videos, and we're going to put up more of our videos this coming week. But on our Facebook page at National Citizens Alliance, you can see the live smartphone video of it, and also up on YouTube. We have that video up there as well. And then an independent video maker, MCD Music, up on YouTube. He has a video he did, which is pretty interesting from his perspective. And I would like to thank the Edmonton Police Service for their professional management of that event. It was a very safe, peaceful rally. There wasn't a single incident at that rally, which is great, and that's what we wanted. And we also would like to thank some of the Canadian immigrant speakers that came up in our First Nations. Victoria came up and spoke, and she gave a pretty resounding support for Canadian nationalism and against the globalism. So get informed, go watch those videos, share them, and give us your feedback. The Calgary event was hampered by the fact that we didn't have any electrical power at the city hall. We were caught off guard when we applied for the permit. We specified that we needed access to electrical power to operate the speakers and mic system that we had. So that caused some problems, and we're going to deal with that issue in the future, so it doesn't become a setback. But regardless, that rally in Calgary was very intimate. It was a get to know session of the Yellow Vesters that came, and we ended up doing at some point a testimonial video of the Yellow Vest supporters that came. So please check that out. That's on our Facebook page at National Citizens Alliance. It's also on our YouTube page, which is titled National Citizens Alliance. So check out that testimony. There were some really, really interesting perspectives shared by these people, and it was right from their heart, right from their minds, uncensored. So please check that out. We're going to be in Lloydminster this coming Saturday. We will be uniting with other Yellow Vest movements up there to do a rally and likely a highway protest. And we're hoping a trunk convoy will join us as well. So that's going to take place at 11 a.m. on Saturday, January 12th, starting at Lloydminster City Hall. So please share the event. It's up on our Facebook page. It's on our homepage at www.nationalcitizensalliance.ca. And again, I should emphasize the police in Calgary were very friendly, and they were very cooperative with us, and we would like to thank them as well for helping to maintain the peace and security, because we're not looking for any trouble, violence. This is about honest dialogue. This is about getting our message out, and it's also about listening to the Canadian people. It's not about any conflict or any violence of any sort. So that's not what we're about. And I'm wearing this yellow vest tonight in solidarity with Canadians, yellow vesters, who are anti-globalist, anti-UN, and I wear it in solidarity with yellow vesters around the world who are anti-UN, anti-globalist. And that's why the NCA is wearing this, because it's right in our platform policy framework, and we say it right out. We are anti-globalist, so that's why we're fully behind this, and we support the Yellow Vest movement, at least the anti-globalist, anti-UN faction of it. But it is what it is. We don't believe anyone owns the Yellow Vest movement or should own the Yellow Vest movement. And we oppose anyone trying to take ownership over the Yellow Vest movement. Our role is simply to support the movement and to share our ideas, which are, in our view, consistent with the Yellow Vest movement. That is the anti-globalist, anti-UN faction of it. Unfortunately, we came across there's some groups in Canada that want to take ownership over the Yellow Vest movement, and this is we don't really care what they do. It's something we don't support. We will never get behind that. One of these particular groups created a manifesto, and they're trying to impose it on all yellow vesters. They're actually using their group to get an income stream, to get donations, and they're actually approving certain groups and disapproving other groups, and they're censoring groups and censoring people. This is everything NCA is against. We're against top-down globalist agenda, so we reject any groups that are trying to impose that tyranny on us or any other yellow vesters in Canada. So it is what it is. Uh, Unfortunately, yellow vest has become. I should add, yellow vest in Canada has become kind of tainted, corrupted from Antifa infiltrating it, globalists infiltrating it, and people with their own agendas infiltrating it. And it is what it is. But like I said, the National Citizens Alliance is merely supporting the movement that is anti globalist, anti UN. And we plan on continuing that. And we are in the process of planning rallies in Edmonton and Calgary for March of 2019. So look out for these events. Uh, we're going to be doing events all over, but we're not going to be going to the same location every weekend. And we're going to be heading into British Columbia soon to do some events. And I don't know, maybe not all of them are going to be yellow vests. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think people need to get up to speed on the division in the yellow vest movement, and this is pretty articulated well, manifested well in the trucker convoy movement. Right now, it's split into two different convoys. Can you believe it? Canada is so divided; it's unbelievable, and it is what it is, I guess. I'm going to show this and just give a critique on what we see going on. But before I go into this, I want to bring up this article I came across today. One of our members sent me but it's making some good points. It's called "I've Got My Yellow Vest, Do You?" And I'm just going to touch on some key points here. It says it's talking. It says that the yellow vest, at least a lot of it globally in France, not entirely in Canada because of the infiltration, but it has become anti-globalist. And I quote here: "Globalism has gentrified the cities, impoverished the countryside. Rural job prospects are gone in many areas, not just in the U.S." but also in France and Italy and Greece, etc. And then it goes on to say, where is it? And there's a point right here I'm going to get to. And it says right here, at the same time, the cost of living through excessive financialization of the economy in the cities has reached a point where middle class workers live like ants to survive the crushing expenses. And that's what's going on in Canada. Taxes are extreme. And I mentioned this is what the Yellow Vests are protesting about in France and now in Canada, Taiwan, Belgium, and for a brief moment in the UK. So there's that article there. And the basic point right here, it says this: the Yellow Vest in France began protesting over a rise in diesel fuel tax to support climate change initiatives and has morphed into a full blown revolt against globalism, neoliberalism, and the French government institutions. And that's what we're against. We're against globalism, the globalist institutions in Canada, the top-down governance in Canada, and the globalist agenda being imposed on the Canadian people. But I'm going to get into these convoy articles now. This is right now. There's two convoy groups. One of them is called Canadian Action, and the other one is called Convoy to Ottawa. And this article here is on the convoy to convoy to Ottawa, and it says it's a convoy which is Western based, um, um, and it said the main precipitous for this is the oil and gas industry is hard hit by problems plaguing the energy industry, and there's some people back east supporting it. They have a GoFundMe, and they're angry about the failure to get past Trans Mountain Energy East pipeline expansions. They want the pipelines, it says. And then it goes on to here, and it says, we're against the carbon tax and the erosion of Canadian sovereignty through the UN's Global Migration Pact. We're not in favor of the UN control of migration. We're not against illegal migration. And then it goes, some immigration experts say the UN Pact is not binding on Canadian policy. And then it goes on about zero tolerance for degrading comments about things like race, religion, cultural, sexual orientation, gender identity. Uh, there's no room for hate, and so forth and so forth. So that's the Convoy to Ottawa page. I'm just going to comment on that. Uh, they're focusing on the UN Migration Pact. I'm not sure how much these people know. For the Convoy to Ottawa, we asked them to get informed. This issue over migration, mass immigration, um, did not start with the UN Migration Pact, number one. So if you think everything is rooted in the UN Migration Pact, you are grossly misinformed or deceived. This has been going on since 1992, at least, when Mulroney signed Canada onto Agenda 21, which is complete global world order, pushing climate change and global control by these globalist elites and technocrats. And then you can jump to 2015 when Stephen Harper signed Canada onto Agenda 2030, which is the same global world order, and it's all this climate change agenda. It's about eliminating poverty everywhere. It's about global socialism, one government control, one world currency, all that, open borders, anti-nationalism, anti-sovereignty. And actually, the UN Migration Pact, which was passed this year in Canada, 2018, is aligned to Agenda 2030. So do your homework out there. If you think this is only the liberals, you are getting played. And that's our message. The left, right, liberal, conservative is just a globalist mechanism to control the Canadian electorate. It's just back and forth, and it's the same outcome. It doesn't matter who you put in. And I'm going to go out and say that the globalist conservatives in Ottawa, whether they're actually worse than the liberals. That's my opinion. They're both globalists, and that's bad enough. But the globalist conservatives are more deceptive and secretive in what they're doing, and therefore I believe they have the worst of the two. But we don't support the lesser or the evil. We want both of them gone. But do your homework. This has been going on. And another frustrating point from our standpoint is this emphasis on illegal migration, but forgetting about mass immigration. And if you listen to the globalist conservatives, all they talk about is illegal mass legal immigration, which is bad and something we oppose. But it is 1/10 of the total immigration coming into Canada. And if you look into Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, it's all about transforming our world. And what's happening in Canada? Canada is being transformed into a UN like globalist village. And this is all part of this UN agenda, and it's happening. So don't get fooled. The mass immigration into Canada, which really started under Mulroney with sustained mass immigration. Harper had historic mass immigration, and then Trudeau's pretty much on the same level of Harper or a bit more. But what's happening is the the traditional populations Canada are being replaced. This is all organized and according to plan. On the trajectory, as the facts show, that by 2100, Euro Canadians, Anglophone, Francophone, Europeans of other descent, including our First Nations, Inuit, Métis, will be less than 20% of the population. So if that concerns you, then we suggest you support NCA because we want to end this mass immigration, and none of these globalist uh, parties, controlled opposition, are against mass immigration. So we encourage you to wake up. And what mass immigration is doing, it's bringing excess people into our country. It's lowering wages. There's more unemployment. It's harder to get work, and that's the reality of it. And it's pushing more people onto government handouts, and it's votes for these establishment parties. It doesn't help the Canadian people. We want responsible, balanced immigration. So don't get fooled. That's all we say. Do not get fooled into this only focus on illegal migration. Look at the mass immigration. That is the main vehicle of Agenda 2030, the UN Migration Pact, and Agenda 21, which every level of government in Canada is behind. I'm going to shift to the other article now. This one is worse. I don't know where these people come from, but they're caught up in the old way of thinking. They're caught up in left, right, liberal, conservative, and this article shows it. So this is called Canada Action. This guy, Cody Battershill, I think he should get informed. It seems like he's reading too much of the mainstream media, but we share his concern with oil and gas. We're pro oil and gas, and but he says, quote, if they are yellow vests, we will not be doing anything with them. I've made that clear to them. Wow. So he's totally against yellow vest. This Canada action. And then he said, for us, yellow vest is from France. We are Canadian. We are focused on Canadian families. In France, they were rioting, and that's not Canada either. Wow. Wow, this Cody guy seems like all he does is watch the mainstream media, and he's believing the false narratives. Cody, wake up. You're being manipulated and into thinking that yellow vest is all violent. You know, maybe look into the globalist side of yellow vests. Maybe go to alternative media, because you sound, I'll be very honest, you sound very ignorant, and, we're encouraging you to wake up. And then this guy goes on, he said, very extreme opinions, and then it's something on immigration policy. Well, I'm sorry, Cody, if you think National Citizens Alliance responsible, balanced immigration is extreme. We don't think it's extreme. We think it's common sense. So we encourage you to get outside of your left, right, liberal, conservative, narrow way of thinking. That old entrenched way of thinking is the problem, Cody. So, maybe look over our policies, the facts, and get informed. It's ridiculous. And then he says here, and then it goes on, it's not accurate to say those opinions are held by all people who identify as yellow vests, but people, I think, just always need to remain positive, inclusive, nonpartisan. Wow, you sound very politically correct. The word inclusive is in the UN Migration Pact. It's also in Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. That is the foundation of everything that Canada Action has been around since 2010. I guess you support the inclusive societies of Agenda 2030, Cody. Come on, wake up. You sound like a globalist. And what else here? Oh, he says here, if people traveling with Canada Action want to wear something symbolic, Cody recommended to wear a hard hat, wear your work overalls. Please leave your yellow vest at home. Wow, look at the division in our country. This guy, Cody, sounds like a globalist. Come on, Cody, wake up. Get the facts. Harper signed Canada onto Agenda 2030. That is completely anti-energy industry. Wake up. That is a fact. Mulroney signed Canada onto Agenda 21. That is completely anti-energy industry. What more do you need to know? The mass immigration is taking jobs away from people in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Come on, wake up. And then he says, we decided to do the convoy to Ottawa to ensure that when Parliament is back in session, we can continue to talk about Trans Mountain Energy East approval, Bill C-69, stop Bill C-48. Okay, Cody. The globalist conservatives had a 4-year majority. They could have easily passed Trans Mountain Energy East with a majority. They didn't, Cody. Come on, wake up. And you're going to go to Parliament, which is full of globalists who are supporting Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, and the UN Migration Pact, and you think you're going to get a positive outcome? Use your brain. And then he says, they're going to depart, and they're getting GoFundMe. Wow. So this is the problems we're facing. And then he says we're just using. This is another group, the other group talking about the other convoy that supports it, supports the yellow vest. But it is what it is. But they're crazy, this Canada Action, if they think they're going to get these globalist politicians um, to get fully behind Trans Mountain Energy's pipelines. This is completely. Look up Agenda 2030. We got a good video on it. It's all about climate change, sustainable energy. Cody, look up Agenda 21. You gotta look this up. You're living in the past. You're living in the liberal, conservative, left, right dichotomies. They're just all about control, Cody, and they're all about control. So just wake up. And then he says, "Oh, this is the other guy." He says, "We have some big companies coming on board. We're getting huge momentum. That's fine, but I bet you for sure these are globalist oil companies that are behind them." So it is what it is. That's a good example, everyone, of the division in the yellow vest in Canada. Uh, it's pretty disappointing, but it is what it is. You know, we're only supporting Yellow Vest, the anti-globalist, anti-UN version, but everyone else is free to do what they want. Obviously, we don't support Canada's action anti-Yellow Vest agenda, and we disagree with a lot of their way they're thinking. It's all old mentality, and it's not going to lead to anything. Obviously, we support Convoy to Ottawa, and we wish them the best with that. At least they're supporting the Yellow Vest movement. That's all we can say. And I'm not gonna go on any further on this, but I hope this is helpful, and we're gonna keep plugging away NCA, and we will continue our support for the Yellow Vest, anti-globalist, anti-UN. But I hope tonight you have a better understanding of the division in our country. It's it's we're not going to attach to it. We can't control what other people do. We can try and influence them like we're doing tonight, but that's all we can do. Everyone has to make up their own mind. And at the end of the day, we ask, if you support the NCA and our anti-globalist, pro-Canadian agenda, then get behind the party, get behind me, and share our message, donate to the party, run in 2019, etc., etc. And please share our event this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. in Lloydminster. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight.